This next poem is about food. It's also about mothers and daughters. A mother and daughter. Okay, me and my mom. And it's about the political ramifications of food and eating. And as anyone knows who has children, you can control just about everything that they do when they're little, but you cannot control how they eat. Scraps. When I was 7, food I threw away reappeared on my plate each day until I ate it, blubbering, licking tears from the corners of my mouth. You had a hunger, have it still, for green potatoes, rubbery turnips, apples bitten past the seeds. Dried cheese rinds, cold cups of tea, and morsels of bread, always bread, littered the kitchen counters of my childhood. If only I had understood their power, your crude magic. In the war, the neighbors called you hamster for your talent. You scoured torn streets with your little bag, while your mother and sisters lay quietly starving. Bitte, geehrter Herr, kann ich den haben? At 17, I drove until I lost sight of you and flung my lunch from the blue Toyota, watched it burst open, orange rolling away from the dented sandwich, the small box of raisins intact. I did not see you pick up scraps of paper bag and wet bread hours later. Had I only known, I might have been a better daughter. I might still be your child. My mom really likes that poem. You never know. This poem is about middle school, and I actually have a 7th grader, and I mentioned the 7th grade in this poem. How about that? Hummingbird. I hung the feeder with its artificial blossom, not for the birds, although I like to watch them give in to their desire for sugar, their impossible bodies tumbling from the safety of a high branch, back and forth like fat dragonflies as they push each other out of the way. I hung the feeder because I needed right then to see them fight over the sweetness I offered, the way I wished the boys in 7th grade would fight over me, boys whose eyes skimmed over my narrow chest and crooked teeth, because I needed to remember how you fought for me, swept aside my fluttering objections, and showed me what you shielded from the others, your eggshell heart. This poem is about somebody that I've never actually met, but I've observed this person over many years, first as a child and now as a young adult. And it's very difficult to write about disability without sounding overly sympathetic or without attributing characteristics of that person that maybe they don't have. So this is really an observation built up of years of trying to figure out how to say that. And it's called The Messenger. I was going to originally title it The Angel. I thought that was too obvious. And then I remembered that the angel Gabriel was the messenger to Mary, letting her know she was about to have God's son. But I thought The Messenger was an appropriate title. The first time I saw her baby arms ending in stumps like scoops of vanilla ice cream, my eyes kept filling in the spaces where forearms, wrists, hands, fingers were not. As her mother, in whose body those extremities failed to grow, tore out the insides of a baguette and pressed white morsels into her child's mouth. Every few years I saw her, a child growing up those missing forearms like blunt couplets, like two short puzzles. And every time an empty place in my heart filled as if something I didn't know I needed had suddenly appeared. Last week, she walked by me, a tall boy's arm wrapped around her shoulders, his palm cupping the stump that swung by her side like a fin, the sleeves of her dress, 2 wings of gauze. this poem, Strangeland, it kind of goes with scraps about being a bicultural person in a culture that, although it is multicultural, tries so hard to put everybody in one little cultural box. I will never understand that. After all, we're a nation of immigrants. However, it does make for interesting juxtapositions. This is called Strangeland. Wind brings the American desert to our front door. Inside the house, it's the old country. America takes practice. Mother prepares our daily lessons. Each morning we emigrate, our fermenting lunchboxes ripe with foreign stink. The war of two languages leaves us mute in school. Speak up, the teacher says. Red ants pierce the heart of our flimsy suburb, slip into bags of sugar. Paper wasps ping the house, build nests from wood and their own fierce saliva. The insatiable wind presses against the walls. America drifts under the doorsill. Mother scrubs the hot windows, scans the hazy air. Always look up, she says. How did she outlast her childhood in a black cellar while bombs ink the sky? Our questions pain her. It's enough to survive. Don't ask me for more. I wish the people who made wars understood that they're never finished. They go to the next generation and the next generation. As soon as you get over it, another one starts. So this is a poem I wrote in Minneapolis airport. It's called Flight 805, which I was desperately waiting for 6 hours. Flight 805, Detroit to Minneapolis. You invent a life of straight lines and wide, gentle curves. Tiny houses, red mailboxes, and snowy yards mean nothing. Watch their letters pass through clouds. Again, you find yourself wedged between strangers. How often have you searched this country above your head? Sky with its private cities, rippled floor and sudden gaps. Try to fit it into the box of your camera. Even a child knows better. Still the sensation, floating out of your body as if to enter the landscape glimpsed from the window. Know the wind, how thin, how it presses from all sides, how thin the skin between you and the cold. Soon you breathe thick air at sea level, and the sky comes all the way down to the ground. Better than I thought. Let's see, I think I'll read some new poems. My father died a little bit over a year ago, and so I had a year of just writing myself out of grief, into grief, in the beginning of grief, out of grief. And it's great when you're a writer and you can look back at how you kind of dealt with all of the problems in your life and the sudden things that happened. They write themselves through your poetry. So these are kind of in order of that. I was very happy to start writing love poems again and not just death poems. However, death finds its way into the best love poem. This poem is called Boden, and Boden is the German word for soil. And this is in the voice of the soil. I know it's hard to love me, crushed under cities, scraped from your shoes. I want attention. I want to live under fingernails, find my way into your mouth. I give you monkey flower, nettles, the bay tree's rising scent. I understand sacrament. Spread a blanket over me. I banish isolation. Take your lover right here. Lie down and listen. The dead clock within me. I could rouse them, but I won't. I lift mountains over bones. In the green grass of the field, take your rest in me. This next poem is titled Shiver, and it came from a dream I had about the Civil War. I was reading some stuff about the Civil War, and my ancestors on my dad's side were Civil and Revolutionary War heroes, if you can call it that. And I thought about all of the people who suffer and die who are never counted, and the fact that somehow or another we regenerate, and that energy of violence and death is also part of the energy of sexuality and erotic love. There's a great line from the artist Jenny Holzer. She writes, "Murder has its sexual side," which still bugs me when I listen to it, but it's undeniably true. This poem is called Shiver. I could die from this, your hands on my face, your breath like steel. I am shaped like the earth. You are shaped like a weapon. You tear me open again. My edges will never come together, will never develop scar tissue. I lie down with you in the high grass where soldiers fell not so long ago. The outlines of their bodies blurred by stealthy moss. Among the stumbling wounded ghosts, tangled in their woolen coats, desire strapes me. Where red soil once caked bayonets, I laugh and shiver. Like I said, it's good to write love poems. All right, this is called Marriage. Monday, in spite of his gusty self-importance, he's the man you've loved your whole life. Sweets in his pocket. Tuesday, he's given up trying to be number one. Sick of his own signature. He leaves work early for your black lace distractions. Wednesday, he's the middle child, a little abandoned, a little squeezed. You both read. Thursday, like Hanshan, he tells you that no direction is better or worse. East is as good as west. You meet him halfway. Friday, he can barely keep his eyes open past 9 p.m. It's hard work, but your kisses wake him up enough. Saturday, rising early to scent the air with yeasty waffles and thick jungle coffee. He needs to feed you. Sunday, he resurrects. Communion opens like a flower on the tongue. This is called I Love You Best at Dawn. I love you best at dawn, when day frays night like old lace. Early rain strokes the grass with a lover's tongue. Astonished, the strip-mined land blows green from musical pores. Its wet drafts penetrate the house with the scent of fresh celery. I love you best at noon, when I am here and you are there, and images harden in my hands, no escape from the truths of the body. I follow a patch of light from room to room, searching for a calamity that will explain these tears. I love you best at night, when the house returns to the woods. Trees cluster like dark elders over the heads of children. Offer me one last sip of wine, sweet proof on the lips. Close the door, turn to me, claim my body with both hands. Thank you very much. It's been great.